my first time seeing hot springs.
We continued south in search of seclusion, and we succeeded. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't apprehensive about driving on the glacier. For the intrepid visitor who makes it this far north in Iceland, the Herring Era Museum is absolutely worth a visit. We had driven all the way from San Francisco to the Arctic Circle in Iceland. This was it. This was the exact moment that I realized something was wrong. We had had great luck and strung together a really successful trip so far, but at this point in our trip, our luck and our energy were starting to run out. When we arrived in Iceland's second largest city, Akureyri, we discovered that the restaurant we were hoping to visit was closed due to complications from the pandemic. Something just felt off during our time in this town, so we kept moving. Not far out of town, we saw a sign for a parking lot and a waterfall just off the main road. And that's how we got here. We followed the crowd to a good vantage point for a selfie and headed back to the truck. And that's just not how we do things, so I knew something was wrong. Back in the truck, we continued to a geothermal area near Mývatn. We had a similar experience here as we did at the falls. We parked next to a row of buses, saw the sights over a course of a few minutes, and headed back to the truck. These stops were draining our energy instead of invigorating us. We had earmarked Mývatn in our research to try a unique, traditional rye bread that's baked using geothermal heat. While Amanda's usually enthusiastic to try new foods, you can just tell from her reaction how worn out we were.
It's not bad. Kind of tastes like raisins a little bit. That was probably the honey.
Still trying to make the most of the day, we headed north to Dettifoss, one of the most powerful waterfalls in Europe. With a bit of separation from the ring road and a small walk required to see the falls, Dettifoss was far more enriching than the previous sites that day.
Where are we, babe?
We're at Delta Foss. It's a giant waterfall. And there's
The waterfall is huge to the point of filling your entire vision. It's mesmerizing to watch plume after plume explode off the rocky face of the falls, giving a cloudy, cottony, but violent face. The deafening roar and blowing mists add to the intensity of the experience. We explored up and down the river, checking out each tier of the falls and trying to recharge our mental batteries. For camp that night, we headed to a unique forested canyon area called Asbyrgi. Yet as we drove through the canyon, looking at camping options, we couldn't quite convince ourselves we wanted to stay here, in spite of the beauty and the perfect camping conditions. Something was off. We talked about the specter that had been looming over us all day, and determined that we were burnt out. We were exhausted from constantly moving and camping every night for 3 weeks straight. On the advice from our friends from Latravik, we headed to Húsavík, where we could slow down, eat a meal without doing dishes, and let ourselves decompress a bit. Húsavík is a neat little town known for its whale watching and as the hometown of fire saga duo Lars and Sigrid. We were charmed by the classic boats in the harbor and the craftsmanship of the church. We found a number of places to get great food and relax with a drink over the couple days we spent there. The real highlight of our visit had to be the geothermal spa, though. It was so refreshing to have a day of doing nothing but soaking in a hot geothermal pool, sipping zesty beverages. We both needed to blow off some steam. We'd been going hard for several weeks on the road, and honestly, we were overwhelmed with being constantly stimulated by all the amazing experiences we had had so far in Iceland. We couldn't have asked for a better time or a better place to unwind, goof off, and reset for the rest of the trip. Let's see, we just made a grocery stop in Húsavík to top up before we head into the highlands. We're going to the Askja Lake tonight. I guess yesterday, or start 2 days ago, we did like Mývatn and Dettifoss and Edsbyrgi Canyon, and we were kind of getting to the point where like we would show up at these amazing places and we didn't feel like doing anything. We didn't really want to like hike around or see and experience it. Like, kind of getting this feeling that we were just in the truck and Iceland's just passing us by and we're just kind of transients in this landscape. So we stopped here in Husavik, kind of like backtracked a little bit. We weren't planning on going to Husavik, and it was amazing. It was just super nice. There were this geothermal spa that we spent many hours at, and then stayed at a nice hotel and had a couple nice meals. So feeling reset now and ready to tackle. I guess we're down to 10 days till we're flying back, so kind of in the last third of the trip now.
I'm ready for the next big city. So I think it'll be good heading to the highlands, getting to check out things that we haven't been seeing yet, and feeling definitely refreshed and relaxed.
Airing down, just pretty washboarded out, so I'm gonna get a more comfortable ride and keep things from rattling around in the truck. We've got the ARB pressure control system, so it'll automatically air down that front tire. I'll start on this one, but it'll probably beat me. And if not, I'm gonna do this one by hand too. Twice as fast. The path to Askja is one of my all-time favorite tracks. It starts off with long, flat, straight emptiness and then slowly starts finding curves until it tightens into a sweeping, swooping track that's banked like a roller coaster. The terrain keeps evolving as you pass through different types of lava fields. Some areas are volcanic slabs, and some are covered in powdery ash, and some are composed of tire-shredding pumice boulders. There are several water crossings along the path. With dry weather conditions, we found the hard-packed bottoms and modest water levels to be no problem, just a fun obstacle. Again, while it could be tempting to splash through these, we took them at a respectful speed and kept our fan out of the radiator. The lonely highland roads were a perfect antidote for the bus-filled parking lots that we found around the ring road. When we got to the Drekki huts, some Arctic truck-converted Land Cruiser troop carriers immediately caught our eye. Iceland's landscapes are amazing, but it's also a treat for Toyota truck fans. Behind the hut is the Askja crater, so it's like a big volcano, and in the middle of it there's a big lake, and so that's actually the deepest lake in Iceland. So we're going to go around this way and check out the lake on the other side. Before we left the huts, Amanda needed to complete an Icelandic rite of passage. In Scandinavian countries, there's this candy that's been referred to as salmiakki, or like salt licorice, and over the years I've grown this extreme fondness for it. Like at first I hated it, and now I am mildly addicted to it. And it's really gross at first, and Amanda's never tried it, and she's been reluctant to this whole trip. So she's going to try her first bite today.
I'm only going to try a bite, though.
Yeah, now it's getting better. Yeah, it's pretty good. You going to finish it?
No. When you look through all the salt and you get to the gelatin part, it's not bad. But it still tastes like black licorice, which I'm not a fan of. I don't see myself enjoying these on a...
You just gotta take small bites for a long time and then you'll get addicted like me.
Yeah, I don't think so.
That's what I thought. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's so good. That piece was too small. After a quick stint back in the truck, we started the 4-mile hike across the caldera to Askja. The trail conditions were easy, but the weather seemed to be ready to unleash at any moment. The hike through the caldera was quiet and relaxing, except for the thick clouds of flies. Amanda tried some creative methods to keep them out of her face.
I was trying to keep the bugs away.
You sure you're not just a weirdo?
I mean, maybe a little bit, but...
I just got in my mouth.
Exactly, see? At least I'm not swallowing any of them. I was just saying how this area is just so different from everything that we've already kind of checked out, and that this is just a huge lava field of just like black rocks and dirt with a little bit of this like red tinting coming through, which is really cool looking. So I'm excited to go check out the little crater lake.
The reveal at the arrival to the lake is absolutely breathtaking. Askja was a very special place to visit. It's a real geological wonderland. It's so unique between the colors in the water, the colors in the rock, and the isolation from any forms of civilization. If you can imagine if this was in the US, it'd say like Yellowstone or something, there'd be like a platform here with like some guardrails and a sign saying dangerous steep cliff, and nobody would be allowed to go beyond this point. And the sign down there says, "Enter VD at your own risk. Follow the stream down for the easiest path." And the stream is like this straight down like waterfall, and apparently it's 28 to 30 degrees C in there, so you could go bathing if you wanted. Why not?
Crazy. Just like the differences of this little tiny lava pool over here and then that bigger body of water with all this like darker mountainous volcanic and then the lighter brown. This is really cool with all the contrasting colors and whatnot.
We couldn't stay for long though, with clouds continuing to threaten a downpour at any moment, so we headed back to the truck in search of camp for the night. Alright, sit rep, it's 6:38 p.m. We just visited the Askja Lake, and now we're going completely around the crater to hopefully find a hut on the other side where we can set up camp, hopefully minimal bugs. But yeah, the terrain's gotten a lot rougher since we've gotten off the main road and haven't seen any cars, so hoping to have a quiet night, find something new. You can see this huge difference between the black lava field and the brown, whatever different type of rock this is. It feels completely different too, it's so much smoother on the brown. Probably get up to 88 miles an hour. We've hit some volcano dust. There's just this like black moon dust. And apparently the Apollo astronauts were sent out here to do training, I think just to like acclimate them with a dusty, desolate, rocky environment, so when they got to the moon it would be more familiar. And beyond the black is the very northern tip of the largest glacier in Europe. It's called Vatshulku. We're still heading towards our campsite for tonight on the other side of the volcanic crater, and right now we're driving through an immense lava field from 2014, so having to concentrate a lot because the lava is super jagged and there's rocks right off the side of the road, so if you space out for a second and brush a tire up against those, there wouldn't be a whole lot left. And we're nearing half a tank. So kind of the point of no return. So we saw one truck that was coming the other direction and asked them how the conditions were. They said it kind of stays the same going north. Their last bit of advice was that we should be concerned about water and the incoming flood. We'll have to take a close look at the map tonight at where the fords are tomorrow and make sure we'll be able to make it. The terrain around Askja was some of my favorite on the trip. The black volcanic dust made for an otherworldly landscape, and the area was extremely isolated. The empty hiker's hut had an eerie vibe. It was the only man-made structure for hours in any direction, and it had been abandoned for the past 2 seasons during the pandemic. Tonight's noodles I'm enjoying from up on a hilltop, because down by the truck there's just a zillion gnats or midgies, and up here there's some breeze, so I still see them up here, but there's just like a cloud down there. I'll eat up here and dive into the tent. With fog rolling in through the valley, I was awash with emotions. I was in awe of the striking landscape, uneasy from the weather warning that we got from the only other vehicle we saw out there, and utterly distracted by the swarms of flies all around. Okay. We retreated to the tent early that night to avoid the flies and to prepare for the storm that had been building all day.